Hello, this is Debbie from DB's Papercraft. Welcome to my channel. Today's video is all about attaching vellum and acetate nice and cleanly to cards. I've created 4 different cards and I've attached the vellum and the acetate in 4 different ways. So for my first card, I've attached pretty paper to an A6 landscape card blank, and I've die cut a thank you sentiment, which I'm going to glue to a 1-inch strip of vellum, which is the width of the card blank. I'm placing glue dots about 3mm apart all across the sentiment, which I then glue to the vellum. Then I flip the vellum to the other side and do the same thing with glue dots all the way across the back of the sentiment. This way the glue is hidden by the sentiment when it's glued to the card. To make this card a little bit more special, I'm gluing glass drops to the centre of each of the flowers on the pretty paper background. I really like this card. I think it's simple and elegant and was really quite simple to make. For my second card, I'm using an A6 portrait card blank from Craft Card and a piece of A6 craft paper. I'm going to make 2 slits, one at the top and one at the bottom, through which I'm going to feed the vellum as a way of attaching it nice and cleanly to this card. I'm drawing lines on the back of the craft paper, 1/2 inch in from each of the edges. This is to make sure that my 2 slits are going to be the same distance from the top and the bottom and both sides. I'm going to use my scoreboard with an inbuilt trimmer to cut the slits, one at the top and one at the bottom. So I'm going to need to trim my piece of vellum, which is the same size as the piece of craft paper. I'm going to make it just a tiny bit narrower than the slits, just so when I feed it through the slits it goes in nice and flat and it doesn't buckle. Next I need to trim the length of the piece of vellum, so I've pulled it through a little bit further than it needs to be just so I can trim off the excess and then pulled it back up, and I've marked where the slits are going to be on the vellum just so I know where to stamp. I'm going to create a background on my piece of craft paper by stamping this lovely cow parsley image on the right side and on the left side, allowing the stamps to just go off the card. Which I think gives a nice effect. I've left the middle free because I don't want it to be too cluttered behind my piece of vellum, which I'm also going to stamp the same image onto. I'm using clear embossing ink because I'm going to put gold embossing powder over the image and then I'm going to heat emboss. I'm heat embossing from behind because it gives a much smoother finish to the embossing. It's a little bit tricky to do because it blows around all over the place, but it's worth persevering with because you get a lovely smooth image. So here I noticed a smudge on my craft paper and decided to cover it up with a bit more of the stamped image. Now I'm going to feed the vellum through the slits at the top and the bottom of my piece of craft paper. Slide it into place and make sure it's where I want it to be. Then I'm going to glue the back of the bits of vellum poking up through the slits and the top and at the bottom. Then I'm going to glue the back of my piece of craft paper and glue it to the front of my craft card blank. And there we have another beautiful card. This one doesn't have a sentiment because I thought it made a nice blank card which I can use whenever I need one. For my third card, I'm using a DL card blank, which I want to be opened upwards and not sideways. So I've already heat embossed in gold a cool image onto a piece of black cardstock, which is 1 inch shorter and narrower than the card blank, so it fits nice and centrally onto the front of the card. And I want to use acetate this time to give this card a bit of a wow factor. So to do this, I'm temporarily attaching the piece of black cardstock to a piece of acetate with some washi tape. The image you can see there is not the actual image, that's the first attempt that went wrong. The piece of acetate is longer than the width of the card but the same height, and I'm cutting down from the top edge to the corner, both corners of the top of the image and also the bottom of the image, and I will be folding over that piece, that middle piece on the top and the bottom, and attaching it to the black cardstock. So I'm using a scoreboard and a scoring tool to draw in a score line just above the black piece of cardstock on the acetate, on the top and on the bottom. This is going to make it much easier to fold. I'm going to use the trimmer on my scoreboard just to trim off those end top pieces. Of course you could also just use scissors here. Just going to use my bone folder to sharpen up those creases on my acetate, and then I'm going to use some double-sided tape to attach the acetate to the black cardstock at the top and the bottom. Okay, so now I'm ready to attach my acetate covered embossed image to the front of my card blank, and again I'm using double-sided tape to do this. Once it's glued on nice and centrally, I can trim off the excess acetate from the sides, and final thing to do is add a sentiment, and I'm going to use this card for a birthday, so it's got a nice happy birthday sentiment. For my fourth and final card today, I'm going to use acetate to make a card blank that is 8 inches by 8 inches square. I'm also using 4 circles, 3 that are 3.5 inches in diameter and 1 that is 3.25 inches in diameter. I'm going to glue one of the larger circles to the back of the acetate card blank and the smallest one to the inside of the back, and that's where you can write a greeting. The second of the larger circles is going to go on the front of the card blank, and the final larger circle is going to go on the inside of the front. They're all going to be lined up so that from the front of the card you can only see the circle on the front. This card is going to be a congratulations card, and I've die cut a champagne bottle and 2 champagne glasses. I put tiny spots of glue on the backs of the champagne glasses and glued them to the front circle. Then I heat embossed the word congratulations in silver onto a piece of black cardstock and glued that across the circle. I'm so pleased with how this turned out, and I think it makes for a really special card for a special occasion. I really hope you enjoyed today's video and have learnt something new or feel inspired to make your own beautiful cards, and I hope you join me for my next video. Bye!